Drenched in controversy and gravy, KFC is a staple of high street fast food cuisine. And on this day, in 1930, Kentucky Fried Chicken was founded by Colonel Sanders. But who was the Colonel? This is the incredible story of resilience and how capitalism can turn anything immoral. This is the story of KFC. So for the longest time, right, I thought that Colonel Harlan Sanders was a mascot like Ronald McDonald, but no, he was a real person. He was born in 1890 in Indiana, and his dad died when he was 6 years old, so he had to do the old-timey thing of becoming a man at the age of 12. He had various farming jobs before lying about his age to join the army at 16. He served a few months in Cuba before being honourably discharged, but I can't seem to find out why. Anyway, when he returned, he got various jobs on the railroads, but he was fired for insubordination. After meeting his wife Josephine and fathering 3 children, he began practicing law for a few years, but he ended up having a fist fight with his own client in the courtroom, and that kind of tarnished his reputation a bit. Then he went on to sell life insurance, but he was fired for insubordination. So, at the age of 30, he decided to start his own business, be his own boss. He can't fire you for insubordination, can he? So, he started a ferry company on the Ohio River. Unfortunately, a bridge was then built, so nobody needed to pay to take a boat across the river anymore. Undeterred, he thought, I'll start an oil lamp business. Just as electric lighting reached rural America, so nobody needed to spend money on that either. He ended up taking charge of a Shell gas station in Nicholasville, Kentucky, but then the Great Depression set in and that closed in 1930. He was moved by the company onto another Shell gas station in North Corbin, Kentucky, and that one did do a bit better. He was also quite a good cook, so he started selling his chicken on the side to truckers who loved it. The business expanded and he built a restaurant to serve his chicken in. He began a fairly aggressive marketing campaign of painting adverts for his business onto the side of barns. There was a fella called Matt Stewart and he ran a nearby gas station. He didn't like that, so he painted over one. When Colonel Sanders heard about this, he went on down there with 2 of his colleagues to deal with it. You know, in the diplomatic way that a man who has been fired from every job he has ever had for fighting would. In the ensuing argument, Matt Stewart shot dead the Colonel's colleague, Robert Gibson, and then the Colonel returned fire, injuring Stewart in the shoulder. Stewart was sentenced to 18 years in prison, and the Colonel was let off. At this point, I feel like I should address the whole Colonel thing, by the way, because he was only in the army for a few months, so how did he get that title? Well, in 1935, the governor, Ruby Laffoon, granted him the honorary title of Kentucky Colonel because his chicken was so good. Truly, it was a different time, right? Aside from the murder thing, things finally seemed to be looking up for the 45-year-old Sanders. He set up a franchise in Salt Lake City in Utah, so his friend Pete Harmon had got a burger joint there, and the Colonel allowed him to use his recipe in exchange for 5 cents on every bird that they sold. And then the Colonel's restaurant burnt down in 1939. He'd also bought a motel which he had to close because no one was going on holiday during World War II. So, he rebuilt a bigger, better restaurant. He developed a system of pressure frying the chicken to reduce the cooking time because it took 35 minutes usually. And then in 1956, a new highway was built that bypassed his restaurant, essentially making it redundant, so he had to close it down. Once again, broke, and now in his 60s, the Colonel decided to focus on creating franchises, and this was where he finally found some success. They couldn't build highways to bypass 600 different restaurants, could they? You can't burn that many down. I was interested to know, actually, that the first UK franchise of KFC was in Preston, Lancashire of all places. So the Colonel sold the business in 1964 when he was in his 70s for $2 million. He was truly playing the long game. Now, I can't really talk about KFC without giving a nod to the questionable farming practices that they use in the supply chain, though, can I? The birds have been dubbed Franken chickens as they have been specially bred to grow extremely large and reach slaughter weight in 35 days as opposed to the usual 6 weeks. KFC had promised that they were going to stop doing this, but they recently backpedaled as they weren't in a operational or commercial position to do so. It's sad that capitalism pushes everything into such dark places, isn't it? Like, I do hope that one day we can redress the balance and step away from this endless consuming and unsustainable growth. What started as a struggling guy making gas station snacks to support his family, it's turned into quite the monster, hasn't it? So, I guess the takeaway, if you will, from this video is to be nice to chickens. And also, never give up no matter what life throws at you. You don't have to be young to achieve things. That door isn't closed because you turned 35. What's meant for you won't pass you by, as they say. So, thank you for watching. Why not subscribe? And I'll see you tomorrow.